Let's just get to work.
Local segment of Primetime News brought to you by...
No one does genuine and non-genuine Japanese automotive parts and accessories better than Bert's Auto Parts. It hurts if you don't check Bert's.
Welcome back to Primetime News, and a special welcome once again if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. Lockdown. The government has imposed a 96-hour curfew on central Clarendon following multiple gun attacks over the last few days. The gang activity in central Clarendon has claimed 7 lives and injured another 3 persons. The Effortville community is of particular concern. We have the details in this report.
Terror in Effortville, Clarendon. 8 residents shot, 5 of them dead, all within just 48 hours. In the latest incident on Thursday night, gangsters killed 2 persons, a man and a woman, in an area of Effortville known as Long Gully. Their identities are not yet known. A bloody feud between 2 gangs has been blamed for Thursday's attack. The bloodletting has drawn a response from the political directorate. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang explained that Effortville is not the only area in central Clarendon that needs attention. He pointed out that another 2 persons were murdered in central Clarendon, which takes the count in the area to 10 shot and 7 murdered.
That we had deployed significant numbers after the first incident in the hills. And while we are aware that gangsters in the central area would have been involved, it therefore dictates that we send significant additional manpower of both soldiers and policemen in the area. We are now going to take steps to institute a security curfew. Objective is to have at least a 96-hour curfew and make every effort by the count of of the security forces to apprehend a number of the critical players out there and then allow normalcy to return.
The National Security Minister recognizes the progress made in Clarendon. Up to August this year, murders had decreased by nearly 30% in the parish. But now the gains are being eroded by thugs, including those in the traditionally tough Effortville community.
There's a known gang established here in the Bushman in the central Clarendon. They had had significant degrading. Number have been killed in combat with the security forces, as well as several have been detained and charged, but they still have a significant number of activists out there, supporters, who are well armed and are brutal in their approach. I'm aware and I've been told, I've been informed by the security team that this entire episode of killing has come about because of a dispute over a bike, which reflects the level of literal depravity in the behavior of some of these elements out there.
The security minister is therefore asking the business community in Clarendon to support the security lockdown, especially with the curfew measure coming within the busy Christmas shopping period.
We know it will disrupt commerce, but the gang war will do worse disruption to commerce.
The National Security Minister says the government is prepared to shut down the area for longer, but hopes to restore calm to Effortville and surrounding areas of central Clarendon before the holiday period. The lockdown will begin at 9 tonight. Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
And long-serving Member of Parliament for Central Clarendon, Mike Henry, has responded to the flare-up of crime and violence in Effortville and surrounding areas in his constituency. He says he is in support of the curfew measure and has proposed an even tighter daily lockdown of 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. instead of the 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. that's being used.
With concern in respect of the innocent lives that are being lost and the breakout of what seems to be retaliatory issues by persons living in the community. And by extension, I am therefore asking for the government to pursue the tightest of curfews if possible. My recommendation has been from 5 in the evening to 5 in the morning, and to reduce all dances, gatherings, etc., any community movements, until we and the community ourselves recognize how important it is to all of us to ensure that we have a crime-free economic area.
Now, over in St. Anne, the police are increasing their presence in several communities, this following an upsurge in violence. Shamela Pullen has the details.
Gangsters are said to be responsible for several murders and shootings in St. Anne. Despite restrictions brought on by the coronavirus, this has not stopped them. The Stairtown area is now tense. Acting head of the St. Anne Police, Superintendent David White, says it's a concern and they're working to sort it out.
We are targeting our violent influencers and those wanted persons. The gang we are now moving in, and we have been moving into the gang situations. The Stairtown area, that triple murder would have birthed from the Stairtown region. We have quite a lot of leads, and we have put in all of the mechanisms to treat with those.
Stairtown is not the only hotspot in the parish. Earlier this week, 3 men were shot, 2 fatally by a gunman at a cook shop on the Discover Bay Main Road. The police are also investigating an incident where one of their colleagues allegedly shot and killed a man in St. Daco over water. Superintendent White says they have increased their presence on the roads.
We have been having a serious thrust in road policing, stepped up our operation, and we have been doing that for the last couple of weeks. So it's unfortunate that the criminal elements was able to come in our space, do what they did, and escape. The triple murder again is another one. Way inside of in an hilly terrain, bush terrain. We had no problem in those areas. The criminals find themselves there because their target was living in that space.
Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
Tragedy struck in Montego Bay, St. James last night, leaving 2 persons dead after a motorbike crash. Dead is 22-year-old Akeem Gaynor from Betheltown in Westmoreland and Monica Blackwood of Stone Edge in St. James. TVJ News understands that 4 persons were attempting to cross the Bogue Main Road shortly after 8 o'clock. They were hit by a motorcycle, killing 2 on the spot. The other 2 were rushed to hospital where they were admitted. Traffic was disrupted for several hours.
Right now it's 10:30 and I'm still here.
This is very long though.
And you just want to get home?
I want to get home. I'm tired and I have to go back to work early again in the morning.
Still to come.
Something for someone else. You've earned rewards to get a little something for yourself too. The Time by Sagicor Bank.
Welcome back. Continuing the news. The government today announced that it will grant private sector entities a grace period to comply with the third phase of the ban on plastics. Now, it takes effect on January 1, but businesses will have a 6-month period to get their houses in order. We have the details from Anthony Lugg.
In 2018, the government announced a ban on single-use plastic bags, straws, and styrofoam. Phase 1 came into effect in January 2019, Phase 2 January 2020. At a media briefing on Friday, Environment Minister Pernell Charles Jr. disclosed that the rollout of Phase 3 is target.
Under Phase 3, the importation, distribution, manufacture, and use of commercial quantities of single-use plastic bags of dimensions not exceeding 24 by 24 and thickness of 2.5 mils, as well as drinking straws made wholly or in part of polyethylene or polypropylene manufactured for single use and attached to or forming part of packaging of juice boxes or drink pouches are banned as at January 1st, 2021.
Since the implementation of the ban, several business operators have increased prices to offset additional costs for alternatives. It's not clear if Phase 3 of the ban would mean an additional increase. That aside, Mr. Charles says there have been intense discussions with members of the private sector leading up to Phase 3. Though this phase will be implemented January 1, 2021, the government will be offering a 6-month grace period. He outlined the government's expectations of the public and private sector during this period.
And it must be noted that within this period of time, it is expected that the private sector will deplete or replace all affected products currently circulated in the trade. 2, it is expected that they will ensure that the production processes are retrofitted as appropriate to facilitate compliance with the provisions of the ban. And 3, the public sector will ramp up its public education and awareness raising activities.
So, as the government moves into Phase 3 of the plastic ban, it's expected that there will be ongoing review, after which the Environment Minister says strong actions will be taken against those found in breach.
The government intends, after this period and after our reviews, to institute prosecutions in the parish courts as necessary for all persons found in breach of the orders. And so I ask again for the cooperation of all Jamaicans to ensure the continued success of the ban on single-use plastics.
Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
283 people have now died from COVID-19 in Jamaica as 4 more deaths were confirmed on Thursday. The deceased are a 71-year-old woman from Clarendon and a 41-year-old woman from Manchester. The other 2 deaths are a 94-year-old woman from St. James and a 73-year-old man from Kingston and St. Andrew. Meanwhile, 2 other deaths are under investigation. COVID cases have also risen to 12,039. There were 71 new cases yesterday. Their ages range from 14 days to 98 years old.
We go to our primetime news follow-up now. The local government authorities in St. Catherine are fuming over the resumption of work at the Dovecot Memorial Park in the parish. Now, in July this year, the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, placed a stop order on the expansion of the burial site after several breaches were uncovered. When TVJ News visited the area in Green Acres, St. Catherine, we observed heavy-duty equipment and workers digging the ground. It appears this has been going on for some time. Deputy Mayor for Spanish Town, Ralston Wilson, raised concerns at the recently held municipal meeting. He pointed to an incident which he says occurred in a section of the development.
The water that shoot up from underneath the earth up in the air, they have to run away and get something to plug what they did there. Because the water table is so high that you don't have to scratch the earth deep before the water comes up.
There have long been concerns about water pollution in the area where the expansion is taking place because there's a well which is the source of water for several communities. The work may have resumed, but the parish council is adamant that it will not provide the necessary permits for burials to take place in the area.
That's where we are standing our ground, that we have not given any permit or any go ahead for that operation to start there.
And if there's no compliance?
We have said that long ago, that we are going to be taking them to court if they violate the local planning authority, which we are.
The deputy mayor is insisting the municipality should remain firm and went further with this request of Mayor Scott.
I want you to write to the Honorable Dr. Tufton, and I want a reply before the next general meeting in January so that we can know where to go and what to do. Because, Your Worship, my division and the constituency of West Central St. Catherine depend on the well at the foot of the hill to serve the whole area with water. And if water could come up this easily, is a clear indication that that well at the foot of the hill will never use again for domestic purpose.
Now, when contacted, a senior employee of Dovecot rejected suggestions that the work was being done illegally. Additionally, we were informed that the breaches highlighted by NEPA have been addressed, which led to the resumption of work on the site. Coming up in business news, the CAC warns no refund signs illegal. While on the international scene, court rules Brazilian government can penalize citizens who refuse COVID vaccination.
Your family plus Flow Internet
Welcome back. We're continuing the news. A cry of injustice and an urgent appeal for help from vendors in downtown Kingston this evening. This after they say the police continue to target them even after they have paid a $1,000 fee to sell in designated zones for the Christmas season. Kelisha Williams was in the area and now reports.
It's the last Friday before Christmas, but it looks like a regular business day in the downtown Kingston shopping district, which is usually packed this time of year.
I look there, I not even make no money yet. I don't have $700 and I'm from morning out, yeah. But that's I walk all over the place and nothing now.
In fact, it appeared as if there were more vendors than buyers.
It's rough, bad.
But even as the vendors struggle to boost their flagging sales, that's not even their main concern. If you take a closer look, you would realize that the vendors here are selling mostly fruits and vegetables in an area designated for buses. The vendors told us they were given the green light to sell here, but here's the problem.
We have to run up and down on the street and that no fear, that no fear. Them collect thousands of pounds to sell, that no fear for we run up and down on the street. Them collect for we, then collect for we and stop make we run up and down on the street.
Some of the vendors who did not wish to appear on camera told us they were charged $1,000 to sell for 1 week, after which they have to renew the payment. One woman explained that the problem usually comes in if they can't present the receipt to the municipal police. Others told us they did not get a receipt in the first place.
Come on, Andrew, if you're looking at yourself and say your dog you in a Christmas and the Christmas don't fearful because you can't have send out match up and we are look Christmas for our pitney them.
While on location, we noticed several police officers walking around with the books. However, they did not approach the vendors. We also visited the KSAMC to get a response. However, we were unsuccessful. Kelisha Williams, TVJ News.
Peter Bunting was today sworn in as the 8th opposition member of the Senate. Mr. Bunting wasted no time and delved into the controversy which delayed his swearing in by 2 weeks. Norman Horn, who was selected to be among the opposition senators, was ineligible to serve because he is a U.S. citizen. Mr. Bunting, who is the new leader of opposition business in the upper house, said the debacle served as a reminder of the need for constitutional reform.
Mr. President, given that certain constitutional office holders and indeed investigative journalists had to grab the bull by the proverbial horn to enable the Senate to be fully constituted this morning, we are again reminded of the need to review our Constitution to ensure that it evolves in the service of our people.
Mr. Bunting said he says the need for constitutional review was made even more evident with the Supreme Court's ruling in September that the detention of 5 men under the states of emergency was unlawful and unconstitutional.
As it currently stands today, the government has not appealed this decision. Thus, the findings of the court are unchallenged. I raise this case to highlight a collective failure on our part as legislators to recognize the defects in the law, but also a failure in repeatedly voting to extend the states of emergency when the situation did not qualify as such. The oath of allegiance obliges us to uphold and defend the Constitution, not the expedient goals of an executive.
Now, ahead of our feedback responses, Dion Jackson Miller is here to tell us about the next RJ Arglina Group virtual town hall on Monday. Dion, What can we expect?
Well, Herman, as you can see, we've entitled it Cockpit Controversy, the town hall, following on the documentary I did earlier this year, the environmental impact assessment, which looks at the pros and cons of mining in the particular area that is being applied for. That is out, and a lot of people have questions, a lot of people have concerns, so want to give you another opportunity, more chances to ask those questions, hear those concerns. So the virtual town hall is going to be Monday starting at 9 o'clock. It's going to be on TVJ. We want you to watch. We also want you to send in your questions and your comments ahead of time if possible. 3810072. 3810072. You can WhatsApp us questions, comments. You can also send us video questions. Remember, put your phone horizontally. Just take your video and then just send it to that number, 3810072. And of course, tune in on Monday. Looking forward to seeing you there.
All right, thanks, Dion. Janella?
Time now for our feedback question. And we have been asking, do you believe the appointment of Chief Justice and President of the Court of Appeal should go through an application process to an independent body? Russell Reed says yes, or allow the people to vote for them. Josh Carl says no, I believe the leader of the country, in consultation with the opposition, should select them. Again, we're asking, do you believe the appointment of Chief Justice and President of the Court of Appeal should go through an application process to an independent body? You can keep those comments coming, facebook.com/Television Jamaica, and tweet us at Television Jam. The financial week, our bite of the week, as well as news from overseas are after the break. Please stay with us.
The local segment of Primetime News.
no one way to invest, but one name stands out above the rest. Barita. Let's get started today.
Good evening and welcome to the Financial Week. I'm Andrew Laidley. As Christmas shopping intensifies across the island, the Consumer Affairs Commission, CAC, is warning merchants that signs which dictate no refund are illegal. Communications specialist at the CAC, Dorothy Campbell, says the signs, which tend to pop up more frequently over the holiday season, have no power in the process of achieving redress for consumers.
Under the Consumer Protection Act, the very foundation of the protection that the Act provides for consumers is to repair, replace, or refund in the event that the rights of the consumer has been breached. So it is a right of the consumer under law. So in the event that the sign has been posted in a store or printed on a receipt, in the event that this consumer's right has been breached based on the investigations of the complaints officer, that sign is null and void. Because under the law, if the right of the consumer has been breached and we have found that to be so, then the recourse is under the law. You have to replace the item, you have to repair the item, or give a refund.
But there are limits to the Consumer Protection Act. She says those purchasing goods online from overseas producers are not covered by the law.
Unfortunately, the Consumer Protection Act does not extend beyond borders. So ensure that you understand exactly what is the return policy. In saying that, we're also saying to consumers who are purchasing things like laptops and tablets and so on, that it is advisable that you purchase these from local merchants, reputable merchants.
Now, the Bank of Jamaica issued its final monetary policy decision for the year today. Now, consistent with its projections, the central bank has decided to hold the policy interest rate unchanged at 0.5% per annum. The bank says it intends to maintain this monetary policy stance until there are clear signs that economic activity in Jamaica is returning to pre-COVID-19 levels. The next policy decision announcement date is February 16, 2021. Currency trading ended today with the US dollar selling for $144.18. The Canadian dollar sold for $111.86. The pound is going for $194.27, while the euro closed at $178.62. The JSE index lost 658 points today, and the junior market index is down 41 points. Among the winners were JMMB Group 7.5%, CAC 2000 9.5%, Maybury Investments, SSL Venture Capital, and JMMB Group. On the losing side were Blue Power Group, Epley 8.75%, Mailpack, iCreate, and Siboney Group. And that's the Financial Week. I'm Andrew Laidley. Good evening.
The Financial Week, brought to you by.
There's no one way to invest, but one name stands out above the rest. Barita. Let's get started today.
Bite of the Week, brought to you by King Alarm. King Alarm, the obvious choice.
News now from overseas. We go to South America, where Brazil's Supreme Court ruled on Thursday that a nationwide vaccine is constitutional. According to the court, the government can penalize citizens who refuse vaccination. The court added that the state can, in exceptional situations, protect people even against their will. Brazil reported more than 69,000 new COVID-19 cases on Thursday. The nation has recorded more than 7.1 million infections since the beginning of the pandemic and ranks second in the world for highest death toll due to the virus, with more than 180,000 deaths. That's according to Johns Hopkins University.
Time now for our bite of the week. It comes from a jerk chicken vendor in Negril who was venting about the new curfew hours in Westmoreland due to the spike in COVID-19 cases in the parish.
Now, Mervyn Cuthbert is just one of many small business operators feeling the pinch, and he doesn't think the government is doing enough. Here's our bite of the week.
Bite of the Week brought to you by King Alam. King Alam, the obvious choice.
The poor is feeling it, and it's the poor put them in power that get them to collect that big check. So when they go in power now to stand up for the poor, there is no way for the poor. They don't care. How long you believe it $10,000 can hold some Jamaican people? From that the time until now. If we did that, what we have put in savings, he already jot, he already done.
Bite of the Week brought to you by King Alam. King Alam, the obvious choice.
The primetime package continues right after this break with sports.
Coming up in Primetime Sports Friday, West Indies players and the staff to return to full salary next month, and PFJL expects to reach $100 million sponsorship mark by early next year.
Good evening, I'm Jordan Fort and I'll have the details after the break.
Sports headlines
is brought to you by Visa Infinite Business Credit Card from JN Bank. It's not just business as usual when you have a card as forward-thinking as your business.
Great Moments in Sports is brought to you by...
Just buy any 5 Lasco products. Scan the code or visit lascowish.com. Join Lasco Wish Chat, send a picture of your receipt and name to enter. Listen for a call to win a Christmas wish this year. It's time to win a Christmas wish again this year. With Lasco. Conditions apply. See the press for details.
On this day in 1993, Jamaican Simon Brown defeated American Terry Norris via a devastating 4th-round knockout in Puebla, Mexico to win the WBC light middleweight title. The victory was proclaimed upset of the year by Ring magazine.
Great Moments in Sports is brought to you by...
Just buy any 5 Lasco products. Scan the code or visit lascowish.com. Join Lasco Wish Chat, send a picture of your receipt and name to enter. Listen for a call to win a Christmas wish this year. It's time to win a Christmas wish again this year. With Lasco. Conditions apply. See the press for details.
Grace Kennedy Money Services. Western Union. 30 years of connecting the dots. Simply because we get you. The time by Grace Kennedy Money Services and Western Union is...
Welcome back now to Primetime Sports Friday. Cricket is where we bowl off. Full funding and salary payments will resume for West Indies players and staff as early as January 2021, after what has been described as a difficult period for all stakeholders. The West Indies' first home series since January is also slated. Jermaine Brown reports.
In May of this year, Cricket West Indies announced a 50% salary cut due to the financial crunch caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. It has been effective since July, but it seems the salary cut will not be extended into the new year. After enduring a dismal tour of New Zealand recently, Cricket West Indies CEO Johnny Graves says West Indies players and staff can expect their full remuneration packages after 6 months of being on half pay.
So we're expecting our finances to freeze from January, and that would allow us to get everyone back on full pay and extend via contracts through to June 30th. So it's been a very difficult and challenging period for us and for all of the staff, players, umpires, our respected stakeholders who have had 50% cuts to their funding. It's been a very difficult period.
The temporary 50% salary cut and funding affected not only Windies players and staff, but the entire regional cricket system. Graves says it is hoped funding will also be found for the resumption of regional competitions, including the Super 50, as well as the Caribbean side's first home series since January 2020.
We're hoping that the new year will bring us improved financial results. It will allow us to convene the Super 50 Cup in February and our first home tour since we hosted Ireland in January 2019 with a visit of Sri Lanka in March.
The West Indies was the first team to resume travel for international cricket with their tour to England in June, followed by the Caribbean Premier League in September, and then the recently concluded tour of New Zealand. The Windies will have their third international tour in the pandemic early next year when they travel to Bangladesh to face the hosts in 2 tests and 3 one-day internationals. Jermaine Brown reporting for TVJ Sports.
And despite another Test series defeat, former West Indies captain and legend Sir Clive Lloyd says current captain Jason Holder should remain in the position. Holder has won only 11 of 37 Test matches, while losing his 20th and 21st games in New Zealand. But Lloyd, who appointed Holder back in 2015, is against the notion of removing the Barbadian from the helm.
Can't say he's doing a bad job. If he dropped 8 catches, can be doing. We need to get better catchers. Their fielding has got to improve, else we are going to be behind the 8 ball again. I don't think it is. Who are you going to put in front of Jason? Call a name. Jason Holder is doing a good job. But the point is, it's the side that he has. It's not. He doesn't have a consistent side to deal with. I think they need, when they continue to work harder at their game and think more of their game and give the batters that the situation that they have to try and get to 350 every time they bat. And you notice, we only bat well in one inning.
Meanwhile, regional cricket commentator Fazir Mohammed has also opposed the idea of changing head coach Phil Simmons.
Their performances have to be reviewed, which I think any professional organization will do so. But if you're going to go on the basis of firing your coach or your technical team after every disappointing series, West Indies will be doing that at least twice a year. If you look at the track record of the West Indies. So there are bigger issues to this situation than just simply replacing your coach or sacking a few players or firing your technical team.
Further afield now, a 4-4 from Ravi Ashwin led India's fight back as they hold a 62-run lead over Australia in their first day-night test in Adelaide heading into day 3. The Indians had resumed the day on 233 for 6, but Australia quickly cleaned up the final 4 wickets for just 11 runs. Mitchell Starc and Pat Cummins accounted for the tail, as Starc ended with 4 for 53 and Cummins 3 for 48. Captain Virat Kohli's 74 from day 1 remained the top scorer. But the Indian bowlers made what seemed a small total look more than enough, as they dismissed the Aussies for just 191, despite a number of missed chances. Captain Tim Payne was the only one who could cope, ending with 73 not out, while Marnus Labuschagne rode his luck to make 47. Ashwin bagged 4 for 55, Umesh Yadav 3 for 40 and Jasprit Bumrah 2 for 52. India then lost opener Prithvi Shaw for just 4 before Mayank Agarwal 5 and night watchman Bumrah 0 guided them to the close at 9 for 1. Day 3 bowls off at 11 p.m. Jamaica time. Now in a TVJ Sports follow-up to the JN Bank Tennis Exhibition story, JN Bank Exhibition, which started on Monday at the Ligoni Club and was halted on Tuesday, the mother of National Davis Cup players Blaise and Jacob Bicknell, Nicole Bicknell, has weighed in on the matter. In an email to TVJ Sports on Friday, Nicole Bicknell disclosed that Blaise was not subject to the 14-day quarantine based on the fact that he had COVID on November 16 and had 2 negative tests after that. She also indicated that this was confirmed by Dr. Susan Strawn Johnson, the acting senior medical officer of health at the Kingston and St. Andrew KSA Health Department. It was also revealed that Jacob Bicknell never played any match and never intended to play any match in the JN tournament unless a special exemption was given by the Chief Medical Officer, CMO. On Wednesday, Gareth Walker, the general manager of the Ligoni Club, where the tennis exhibition was being played, confirmed with TVJ Sports that the event had been postponed pending matters to be addressed. 3 of the listed players for the exhibition were in the Dominican Republic in the last week, where a men's pro ITF tournament took place between November 30 and December 6. And with that, we head into a break on Primetime Sports Friday. Stay with us. We've got more after this.
You know you can stay home and do all your banking. Use Scotia Online, the Scotia app, or Telescotia today. It's simple.
company to sign on as a club sponsor for the new season of the National Premier League, which is expected to get underway sometime next year. PFJL chairman Chris Williams says the financial institution's sponsorship is important on two fronts.
That we have a platform from which the young men, the ballers out there, can demonstrate their skills and from those skills earn a living and feed their families and take care of their loved ones.
Now, the importance of the sponsorship, Williams says, stretches beyond just the National Premier League.
That 2021 is a crucial year for football in Jamaica. We need to ensure that football is being played so that the members of the Reggae Boys can be getting game time and they can be honing their skills to get us ready to qualify. We want to be there in 2022.
Now, the 12 clubs for the upcoming season will be assigned a sponsor via a random draw, which will take place next year. JMMB joins Indies Pharma, Yummy Bakery, Jamaica Producers with Cinco, and Mount Pleasant Academy in the club sponsorship category. Williams says the PFJL is expecting to get to its target of $100 million in sponsorship by early next year. Some racing now. With just 4 race days to go on the 2020 local racing calendar, the hunt for the jockeys and the trainers' titles are still tantalizingly poised, with no clear winner yet emerging. Denise Walters reports.
Reigning champion Anthony Nunes, who leads rival Wayne DaCosta by over $3.6 million in stakes earnings, will saddle 6 runners to DaCosta's 5 on Saturday's 11-race card. 3 will be in the divided feature, the Starters Trophy, a maiden special weight contest for native-bred 2-year-olds going 4 furlongs a straight. In Division 1, Nunes' charge, Chandra's Law, to be ridden by title-chasing jockey Dane Nelson, is the 2-to-1 anti-post favourite. Half-sister to Prince Charles, the chestnut filly has not been extensively trained, but has looked good in her gallops and can get off the mark on debut. Chandra's Law's stablemate Quite Boss will have 2019 champion jockey Christopher Mamdine aboard. DaCosta will have debutant Sudden Flight with leading jockey Anthony Thomas in the saddle. Second in the anti-post odds, the nicely bred colt is expected to fight this one out. Meanwhile, in Division 2, DaCosta saddles a 5-2 overnight favourite John Crow Jeff, who is out for the first time and is expected to be competitive with Philip Parchment riding. Omar Walker rides Nunes' Alimony, who will love this quick dash after finishing 3rd on December 12, going 5 furlongs round. Nunes has 2 runners, Legality and the tricky one in the non-restricted overnight allowance contest, going 7 furlongs, while DaCosta saddles Master of Hall. Nunes says the trainer's race is far from over.
It's nothing new to us. We've been doing this now, I'd say, maybe especially the last 4 years. It has been close, and so we basically have a formula that we use, and we will stick to that formula. It was successful last year, and we're in a good position, but with these increased purses, it adds a different dimension. So we have some work to do, and we will continue to do so.
In the race for the Jockeys Championship, Nelson, who trails the Thomas by 5, has secured 11 mounts to Thomas's 9. First post is 11 a.m. Live racing coverage will be on Power 106 FM. Denise Walters for TVJ Sports.
All right, so those are the stories then making Primetime Sports Friday. Stay with us. We recap the top stories after the break.
It is often the little things that remind us that life is good, like making a living, mornings with the one you still love.
that target. So those were the top stories in making Primetime Sports Friday. Don't go anywhere. Sports commentary is next with Oral Tracy.
If I can make one wish come true.
No, a quite significant development in Jamaican inter-COVID sports took place over the weekend. A track and field meet featuring both junior and senior athletes with all the necessary COVID protocols. And from all the reports, within reason, the meet went well. And my assumption is that the Ministry of Health, via the Ministry of Sport, gave the green light for this meet to take place. Athletes actually competing on the track in and of itself is symbolically important to the wider cause and basically rubbishes the notion that no sports can play in Jamaica because of the COVID pandemic. The fact that some smart thinking, hard-working track and field people put a template together and convince the authorities to give it a try represents the kind of leadership that has been woefully missing from the wider sports fraternity since the pandemic hit. It is still obviously work in progress, but is a positive step towards getting athletics going and towards the push for at least the phased and partial resumption of the wider sports industry. A sport like football, for example, instead of pushing so hard for the resumption of the full Premier League, maybe they should start with some kind of tournament or mini tournament just to break the ice and then take it from there.
If I can make one wish come
Hello and welcome to the weekend edition of E-Prime. I am Daedran. Sean Paul drops a reggae track to the delight of his fans. Yesterday, the Dirty Rock singer officially released Lionheart. Sean talks his mind and takes aim at the famed versus battle, misrepresentation in the press, and overall speaks to his resilience despite what he describes as haters.
Them a fly down for me like some vampires. Them no read interview, what does the headliners? When me tell them what catch thing remind me of, them only use that to sell them papers.
Lionheart is produced by Sean Paul's Dirty Rock Productions, and today he dropped the single Day Society. Now this Saturday night is all about Fame Frequency Starstruck. The anticipation is high as organizers promises a night of glitz and glam with an added Sagicor V VIP experience. Also, the girls will rule the night as RJ Argelina's TV and radio general manager Jenna C joins Sim Simma and DJ Talinina around the turntable with the captain Colin Hines and DJ Denvo. The party kicks off at 9 p.m. on RETV and Fame 95 FM, then at 10:45 right here on TVJ. That's it for the weekend edition of E-Prime. I am Daedran. Thank you for watching.
E-Prime, brought to you by...
Scratch it and unwrap extra data or credit.
Continues to show generally fair skies persisting across most of the Caribbean basin. We do, however, still have that stationary frontal boundary that is across the western portion of the Caribbean basin. We're seeing some shower activity and isolated thunderstorms very near to the Cayman Islands. We're expecting the system to begin some movement sometime on Sunday, should be weakening as a trough across the island then. Expect fair skies tonight. Low temperatures drop to about 23 degrees Celsius. We're expecting some morning rain mainly across the northeast. And then by afternoon, much of this is likely to be occurring across inland areas with high temperatures reaching 32 degrees Celsius in Kingston and about 31 degrees Celsius for Montego Bay. The breakdown has partly cloudy skies across the south tomorrow. Expect showers and windy conditions in the northeast. Expect windy conditions to persist across most of the north as well, with likely to be partly cloudy in Brownstown, Falmouth, Montego Bay, and Lucy. Now on Sunday, we're expecting partly cloudy conditions in the afternoon, but dry and fair conditions are likely thereafter. In our marine forecast, we have a small craft warning in effect for inshore areas of the north coast tomorrow. Winds are reaching 25 knots, while on the south coast tomorrow, the winds are reaching 10 knots out of the south. Offshore, we do have another small craft warning that stays in effect for inshore areas of the north, reaching 25 knots, but we'll have to cut things short this evening. Stay tuned, we have a news recap that comes up after the break.
Where Grace Kennedy money service,
Brought to you by When you have Flow Internet.
Welcome back. Our top story this evening. Curfew, 4-day curfew implemented in central Clarendon as security forces seek to end bloodletting in that parish. I'm Herman Green. On behalf of Janella and the rest of our teams, pleasant viewing.